Welcome to the Stormsurf Video Surf Forecast for the week starting Sunday, May 11th. Brought to you by Vunabaka.com, a new residential and surf community in Fiji. First up, we'll take a quick look at the North Pacific Ocean. Significant sea heights. Not a whole lot is going on. Little low pressure system in the Gulf of Alaska generating probably 14-foot seas, aimed somewhat at Hawaii. Wind swell from that has already hit the islands and is going to continue for several days, but nothing remarkable size-wise. Wind swell is occurring along the Central California coast in the chest-high range or so, maybe some shoulder-high sets. But nothing remarkable, 8-second period, and no real southern hemi swell is hitting. Little low trying to organize off of Japan, but no real seas of interest occurring. Let's just put this into motion and see how it plays out. By Tuesday, the low in the Gulf disappears. No high pressure, no wind swell from that. And this system off of Japan heads north, and that's pretty much the end of it. And we're into a full-on summertime pattern by then, rolling out 180 hours, and that's pretty much it. Just very quiet. North Pacific goes to sleep. The focus now becomes the southern hemi. So first on our tour in the southern hemi, we'll take a look at jet stream winds. These are winds up above 30,000 feet. These winds help promote the formation of gales when they get in the correct configuration, and also steer storms when and if they occur. Right now there's a little bit of a trough, semi-organized, not particularly well organized actually, in the central South Pacific. Winds are very weak, 70-80 knots. Flowing up into it. This would be what you'd call a trough. This would support low pressure development, clockwise circulation down at the ocean surface, but nothing really going on there. And then this big ridge pushing down into Antarctica and then back up, and another trough here just off of southern Chile. Winds again pretty weak, 100 knots flowing up into it. Maybe good for low pressure development there, but nothing remarkable. Let's put this into motion and see what's going to happen. We notice a pocket of wind starting to build. This would be on Monday, about 140 knots. A little bit of a trough tries to get organized here. Maybe some support for low pressure development or a gale into Tuesday, but not particularly remarkable. A little bit of follow-on energy into Wednesday, but nothing real great. And then but the whole jet in general starts lifting north a little bit, which is good, pulling away from Antarctic ice, which is down around 65. And that opens up little possibilities for gale development. Better semi-trough there, but again, no real wind. Another trough here in the east on Saturday. We're almost a week out, and it's 110 knot winds. Nothing remarkable there. And then you get out to 180 hours. Another little trough tries to get formed under New Zealand, but nothing remarkable. I mean, the short of it is, at least at the jet stream level, you look and you go, there's nothing really solid going on. Let's see what happens, is forecast to happen down at the surface. So next we take a look at surface level winds and surface pressure. Low pressure, looks like about 948, it says, millibar low. That's a rather deep low, but the closer you get to the poles, the lower the pressure generally gets, and the lower it has to get to generate decent winds. This is a very small fetch area, 45 knot winds, and probably right on the cusp of being in over Antarctic ice. But we'll put this into motion, roll this out. There's a bit of a fetch, 35-40 knot winds on Monday afternoon, southeast of New Zealand. Building to 45 knots into the evening. There's a little hope there. Another system right under New Zealand after that on Tuesday evening. 45 knot winds, sort of lifting northeast. Here's the great circle paths into Southern California. There's the 208 right there, and actually you put it back. It actually starts on about the 212 or so, but here's the Tahitian shadow, and you notice these great circle paths go right through the Tahitian islands, so bit of a shadow going on there relative to Southern California. Hawaii, not so much, but again, the fetch is sort of aimed perpendicular to the great circle paths up into Hawaii. So let's put this on into motion some more. We're into Friday later in the week. A little bit of a gale tries to get organized, but nothing too much. Another one. And then finally, this is actually interesting. You get out 180 hours or so, and there's 55 knot winds forecast coming under New Zealand. And just for laughs, we'll do this relative to Southern California. Notice that actually is pushing right up the Great Circle paths. What is that, about the 212 up into Southern California, and not right on the edge of the shadow. There's other charts we have that we look to really drill down to where the shadow is, but that's not so bad. But again, that's 180 hours out, not really believable. But so there is some hope here, and these are the more preferred storms, at least for Northern California, the more southwest angle. But the south angle, certain spots do really well on that too. It just sort of depends what you like. Next, we're going to take a look at significant sea heights. And we're going back in time a little bit. We're back to Tuesday, the 6th of May. There's a small little system, 28-foot seas, pretty much south of Southern California, or California for that matter. Little pulse of swells expected this week from that one. And then that, of course, pulled out of the swell window. So here we go. We'll do this just for fun. There's 180 degrees. The fetch is pretty much aimed more at Chile, a little bit up these Great Circle paths. So maybe Southern California you could see even some 175 degree swell from that, but for the most part probably not. Another little one pushed under New Zealand on Thursday, and this was the one, it sort of flared up a little bit way to the south, didn't look so great, 36-foot seas, and then it kind of got reinforcements, and we got a pretty good fetch here. Again, pushing up Southern California, anywhere from 208 to 213 or so. Again, pretty much in the shadow, but still something from the southwest. That's good news. And that continued on into Saturday night, and then started petering out. Still, as of right now, the 18Z on Sunday, there's still a little bit of 30-foot seas there. This is good for probably a pretty good push of swell. Nothing huge, but solid, long-lasting swell when it arrives. That should be about a week out. And then, so now we're into the forecast, 30 hours. Here's that little system we saw, 32-foot seas in mid-central Pacific. Again, more background swell, if anything. Another system on Wednesday, 36, 37-foot seas. Sort of a short-lived blast, so there's hope there. And then let's roll this on out, and then little bit of nothing for a bit, and then this the stronger system starts getting organized. That's looking like 46-foot seas relative to Southern California, not shadowed and in the swell window relative to California, but relative to Hawaii, completely blocked by New Zealand. And it's 7+ days out, so none of it's really believable, but something to watch. It looks like the New Zealand corridor is trying to open up a little bit. Next, let's take a look at long-term forecast trends. El Nino, La Nina, MJO. So the Southern Oscillation Index, difference in pressure between Darwin, Australia, and Tahiti, is going back positive. We had a little run of negative numbers here, suggestive of the active phase of the MJO, but that wasn't really the case. It was low pressure that was passing over Tahiti, so it sort of artificially bumped the numbers down. Now we're back moving into positive numbers as that low has moved out of the area of Tahiti. The numbers for almost the past month are all pretty much in the positive range. The inactive phase, the MJO, that's what's been going on. 30-day running average, thanks to this little run of negative numbers, we're back down to about neutral. And also that has helped push the 90-day average down to -4. So that's a little bit towards a long-running active phase. And maybe suggestive of El Nino, but not particularly. It's more in the neutral category. And overall, it looks like we're in the inactive phase with the long-term trend pretty much neutral. Take a quick look at surface level wind anomalies. Here's Australia, the Philippines. We're in the West Pacific. Easterly anomalies. This is suggestive of the inactive phase of the MJO. This is the first real inactive phase we've had the entire year. We were hoping that that wouldn't, that such a phase wouldn't happen at all, that we'd stay in the active phase and continue the warm water pump feeding Kelvin wave over the equatorial Pacific, but that pump has been cut off with this recent spat of easterly winds. Continuing looking into the Central and East Pacific, here's the date line here, Hawaii's here, pretty much neutral anomalies, a normal wind pattern for this time of year. And then we go a week out, we see maybe the faintest hints of westerly anomalies, but that's more of a reach, if anything. Here's Australia again, West Pacific, and get to the date line, it's pretty much neutral. And then you continue, and it's neutral again the whole way into the Galapagos and Ecuador. So no real anything suggestive of formation or starting up the warm water pump. Neutral anomalies are okay, but we would really want to see westerly anomalies in the dateline area, and we're not seeing that as of this model. Here's another way to look at sort of a historical average of what's going on, and so 120 is about the Philippines, 120 west is, actually 90 here would be about the Galapagos. The reds are westerly anomalies, the blue are easterly anomalies, and this is just between 5 north and 5 south on the equator. So we had this long run the whole way through April of westerly anomalies. It started in January and went non-stop. This is the weak tail end of it. Then we pretty much got into May, somewhere around May 5th or so, and then the easterly anomalies started May 3rd maybe. And so according to this forecast, it looks like we're through the worst of it, and maybe by the 14th or 15th, right about here, it's over, and then we just kind of go into a neutral pattern. So that would be good if this were the only inactive phase through, let's say, the end of May. That's pretty good. One inactive phase for a 6-month period, that's not bad. But what we really want to see is some westerly anomalies. Let's go check the longer range models and see what's cooking. So first up, the statistical model. The oranges, yellows are indicative of the inactive phase of the MJO, a higher degree of surface reflectivity, and less clouds, meaning trades, high pressure, and the inactive phase. So the statistic model suggests that this current inactive phase is supposed to go for about another 12 days, then starts petering out, and here comes the building active phase pushing into the West Pacific about 2 weeks out. That would be good. Let's take a look at the dynamic model. The dynamic model is now suggesting that the inactive phase is supposed to hang on for 2 weeks. Not very strong, and that's kind of what we saw in the previous charts. They're all driven by the dynamic model as well. Pretty much just neutral anomalies, but no active phase building in the Indian Ocean. So the question is, what's going to happen? The interesting part here is that if El Nino were really in play, typically what happens is the MJO completely disappears. It just fades off. Warm water builds up here, and the warm water is what actually starts driving the circulation pattern. So the question is, we know there's a Kelvin wave building off, impacting Galapagos area, right in this area, and we want to see warm water building up over here. If that happens, that might tip the balance of the atmosphere in our favor, but that's not happening yet. Let's dig a little deeper. Finally, the 40-day model, if one can believe a model that goes out 40 days, currently suggesting, again, this is this is actually at the jet stream level. The oranges and the reds and the yellows suggest the inactive phase and decreased odds for precipitation, and sure enough, here's basically it's the inactive phase pushing into the East Pacific through the 21st of May, and then here comes the active phase and increased odds for tropical precipitation by about the 18th of May, working its way across. Another weak inactive phase by the end of May. I mean, it's really mixed pattern here. No real, nothing congealing, no real strong correlation, suggesting basically the collapse of the MJO. That would not be bad if it were to happen. All right, next let's take a look at sea surface temperature anomalies. These are differences in surface water temperature from normal for this time of year. And clearly the yellows are positive anomalies, and we see we have positive anomalies a couple of degrees either side of the equator the whole way from Ecuador, Galapagos to the dateline and beyond. This is good news, and these temps are all pretty much about half a degree or above, and we're starting to see some definite increases in this area, and this is what you want to see. We're really expecting to see these water temperatures jump very soon. They need to jump very soon if we want anything that's what some folks are saying, you know, that this developing El Nino could approach that of the 97 El Nino. To do that, within the next 10 days, we're going to have to see reds. We're going to have to see 3 to 3.5 degree temperatures above normal developing within the next about 8 days right here by the 15th, or that's probably not going to be the case. But that said, warm water the whole way across here, no cold water, no sympathetic cool flow off of Africa. Clearly some sort of a warm event is trying to get going. But we got burned on this one time before, back 2 years ago. We had warm water building up, not as large as this, not as strong as this, and not this early in the year, and it all dissipated by the time we got into the fall. So we got a ways to go here. Still, this is a pretty good pattern. Lots of warm water everywhere. A little bit of upwelling coming off Japan. That's actually from a series of systems that in the late season that kind of mixed up, got some mixed the ocean surface up a little bit. Would not there could be more of this as we get into the fall, especially if we got strong tropical systems going through this area, but right now that's nowhere near the case. So we're sort of in no man's land right now, but we have a warm water building. This is a pretty good sign. Let's look at some other data. Here's another version, same data. The key thing here, 2.64 above normal here, right, just west of the Galapagos, and also this water down here is very close to being in that same range. So, and the magic number we want to see right in here is about 3 to 3.5 degrees above normal. And what we're going to do here now is show you what was happening about this same time during the 97 El Nino. So here we are, April 25th, 1997. This looks very much like what's currently happening today in 2014 over the equator. Warm water right near the Galapagos, probably in the same range, 2.5, maybe 3 degrees, and about half a degree strung out the whole way to the dateline. Notice that 5 days later, we're into 3+ degree anomalies and building right in this area here. That is as of May 3rd. And on May 10th, a very clear signal with a building area of 3 to, I'd say this 3.5, maybe even 4 degree above normal water, but let's say 3.5 in this area as of this time in 1997. So we're not anywhere near this yet. We're, let's see if we can get this, we're 2.64. We need to be about 3.64. So the question is the current Kelvin wave going to warm waters enough to get us to this point, and how soon will that happen? I think we're about 10 to 12 days behind this chart. So here's the current, here's subsurface view, this is surface view, this is, so the dateline's about here, Galapagos are about here. 5+ degree water temperatures working their way into the Galapagos. Another patch, this is actually about 3.5 degrees, almost 4 degrees here. This is from this pocket is from the 4th westerly wind burst that occurred in April or so. So that's at some point going to be working its way in here. This is all from this warm water here is from 3 westerly wind bursts in January, February, and March that all worked their way down here, made the whole subsurface trek into towards Ecuador. So this water is gurgling up to the surface. One would think that water temperatures should be rising actually quicker than they are around the Galapagos. We're sort of wondering why the water temperatures aren't warmer than they are. We're hoping that in the next 5 days or so that they are going to make that 3 to 3.5 degree mark. But if they don't, then I would throw out any hope of this being anything like the 97 El Nino. That doesn't mean there won't be an El Nino. It just suggests that maybe it won't be as strong. It's certainly not developing as strong as early as that event was. And of course, here's another view of the Kelvin wave working its way into Ecuador. Still, this is suggesting 5+ degree. Oh, what is that about? Yeah, about 5, maybe pushing 6. But the bulk of the warm water is now well in the East Pacific, should be gurgling up, should be appearing at the surface warmer than it currently is, one would think. So we're just waiting to see what happens. And of course, the sea height anomaly charts, these are 5 centimeters above normal, 10 centimeters here. This suggests that warm water, again at depth, is the whole way from the date line working its way into Ecuador. The biggest anomalies and suggestive of the warmest water is right in this area. So we're just kind of waiting to see what happened. The Kelvin wave is hitting, is working its way to the surface. What it does on the surface, anyone's guess at this point in time. The more the water warms, the stronger the El Nino signal would become, the greater the odds that it will heat the atmosphere above it and then significantly change the atmospheric circulation over time. But what we need is more warm water, more westerly winds off over in the dateline region. We're not seeing any of that right now, so it's going to be kind of interesting. The next few weeks are kind of key to the evolution of El Nino, if it is to evolve at all. And one last little piece of the puzzle, the Nino 3.4 sea surface temperature anomaly forecast by the CFS version 2 model. It has backed off a bit from earlier. It was showing temperatures up here in the 1.7 range in November. Now it's down to 1.5, 1.45. Still, that's definitely El Nino territory by a good margin, but not a supercharged El Nino. You'd want to see it up here in the 2 degree range or so. So, still, things are looking pretty good long term for when we're talking about in the fall. And here it is, it's not even June yet, and we're talking about, the potential for feeding storms in the fall, that sort of thing, which is kind of voodoo that far off. But it's a good thing to watch. It gives you an indication of what's to come. So we're still hopeful for some sort of an El Nino. How much, how strong, too early to tell. So to wrap it up here real quick, we got a series of small southern hemi swells coming first from about 180 degrees into California, and then we start getting some New Zealand systems on the charts. So southern hemi swell on the way for Hawaii and the U.S. West Coast, and potentially a stronger system developing a week out. This is all good news, something to keep us going here in the summer, and then we continue to watch the evolution of a potential El Nino. Certainly needed in terms of precipitation for the California area in the fall and the winter. Things are looking reasonably good, but there are some hints that it may not be that strong of a system, El Nino, and could be a little bit overhyped. We'll just have to watch and see. And again, many thanks to our friends at vunabaka.com. Check out their website. Go take a look. Beautiful project they've got underway here. Well worth looking into. Thank you.